I had got into a fight with Wanderlei Silva a number of years ago on the set of The Ultimate Fighter 3 Brazil. That clip has resurfaced. Fight Pass put it out. They were kind of doing a something memorable moments or however, and that made the list. So that resurfaced. And my producer was asking me, hey, tell the story. What exactly happened on that day? So in case nobody's seen the clip, Wanderlei and I are on set of Ultimate Fight. You know how that looks. He's in his team jersey. I'm in my team jersey, but it's just us in a room. And all the athletes were just behind a little door of the set waiting to come out. But that was part of the shot that was being set up. So the way the establishing shot is Wanderlei and I in a room. Then the guys walk through the door. Now I got my team. He has his team. We commence a weigh-in. Well, they're still through the door. So now it's just Wanderlei and I. And I hated that this happened, and I resented Wanderlei for it tremendously for a while. I do not now. But the reason I resented him is at the time that I went to Brazil, this was right on the back of me having a very big and public dispute with Anderson Silva, of which I took all the way to the Brazilian people. I even brought Anderson Silva's family in on it. I mean, this thing got nasty. And the Brazilian people were very loyal to Anderson, and there was just heat. There was heat to the highest of levels, where when I was there, I was receiving death threats and people trying to find out where I was and making promises. I mean, they were getting in graphic detail. Not only were they going to kill me, they eventually said what lake they were going to place my body in. I mean, it got pretty serious, to the point that I had armed security with me, had to travel in a bulletproof vehicle, and had to be sequestered from the rest of the group, which was about an hour drive each way. Now, the days on The Ultimate Fighter are very long days. So add an hour in the morning and in the evening, just to get to your bed and shower to start over and do it again. So the point I'm trying to make is, as much of a front as I may have been putting on at that time, I was still very aware of my surroundings and how unwelcome I was. So to then have to actually fight the axe murderer without gloves on the set of The Ultimate Fight, it's like, man, Wanderlei, I bit off there's a lot of things that I've done here to make my participation in this possible. You're not making me feel very welcome here. So, well, later I get Wanderlei's side. And all that had happened, it was very simple. We were on the set of The Ultimate Fighter. There was supposed to be huge tension between Wanderlei and I, and there just wasn't. Now, there wasn't because his way of choosing to deal with me, who he hated at that time, I was a terrible guy, and he saw the things I said about Brazil and him and Anderson, and I'm just this bad guy. So his way of dealing with me was to just no contact. If I passed him, I would always say hello. It was just a habit. I don't know that I could pass anybody that I know and not say hi. He would try to ignore me, but because of this, because of his approach of, hey, just strong arm and let me just keep this knucklehead Chael out of my sights, because of that, there was no interaction. And the interaction between he and I, good, bad, or indifferent, is a piece. It's only a piece, but it's a piece of that program. So some of the production crew was going to Wanderlei, and I was giving him a hard time behind his back. They would do what's called a green room, where I would just sit down in a chair, the screen behind me is green, and we would just do an interview. Hey, what'd you think of the performance today? How's your team training? There's games that you play on that, whatever it was for the show. You guys have seen the show. And it was just me talking, and somewhere I'd always find a way to take a dig at Wanderlei, right? I mean, that was the gimmick. That's the character I was playing. I would always take a dig at him. Wanderlei did this, or Wanderlei, I take these little shots at him all the time. So I did that to try to irritate him, to get him to have some kind of an exchange with me, because that was a piece of the programming. Now, whether I was smart to do that or I was a jerk to do that as he viewed it, this is still just what happened. When production went back to Wanderlei and goes, hey, Wanderlei, quit straight arming this guy and quit ignoring him. He is trying to engage you. As a matter of fact, here's some things that he said about you behind your back that you don't know about, but when this show comes out, you're going to see, you're not going to be crazy about. And you might want to take the time now with the cameras on and the mics fired up to make sure that you throw some bullets back, because he's coming at you pretty hard. Well, somewhere in the interpretation of that, Wanderlei was not crazy about it, and Wanderlei thought it was maybe a little bit more serious than it was. My barbs were pretty light, but they were there, but they were pretty light. So he decided premeditatedly that he was going to use this opportunity where it's just he and I to confront this. Now, instead of doing what I think production would have liked, which is just some engaging, some verbal banter, it turned physical. And I could feel this coming. And I could feel it coming. And, I don't think you guys would think I was a coward. You would think this probably makes sense to share with you the idea of fighting Wanderlei Silva isn't really on my list of fun things to do in life in general. But the idea of fighting Wanderlei Silva without gloves, without a weigh-in, without a referee, oh, and by the way, where everybody here through that door likes him, and none of them like me, this is really low on my list of things to do. But I have an ego too. And if this is going to happen, whatever happens, happens. But this might happen. So at any rate, a very light scuffle breaks out. The guys all came through him, and everybody rips us apart and breaks us up. But after whatever did happen and whatever you did see was very real. It was very authentic. He was very worked up for his own reasons. I was very calm and not wanting it to happen for my own reasons. But many people had said after the fact, hey, that was staged, that was scripted, good entertainment, fellas, but we realized that, you were following a script. One of the pieces of evidence that they used for that was because we were mic'd up and the cameras were on. Now, obviously, we're on the set of The Ultimate Fighter. There was never a time in my life for 33 days, aside when I was showering or sleeping, that I didn't have a camera on me and a microphone hooked to my t-shirt. Same with Wanderlei. So the fact that we happen to have cameras on us and they happen to be rolling and we happen to be mic'd up as the conspiracy theory that therefore he and I worked something out together with the help of the producers was a little bit silly, but it still existed. Now, let me take that story, okay, store that away. Let me tie it to another story. In Oregon, there was a fight promotion that Matt Lindland owned and was the promoter of called Sport Fight. Now, Matt was supposed to fight another local tough guy. This wasn't meant to be national story or international news, but it was meant to do a big live gate within Oregon, and he fought another gym owner from another part of the state who was also a real folk legend on the streets and the bars and the community that he came from. Name was JT Taylor. So they match up, they're going to headline, and they did a really great job for a local show. I mean, this thing really, they had commercials out, they had billboards all around town. This, for a local fight scene, was almost the pinnacle of excitement. There really wasn't something local in Oregon that you could go to and see a fight you wanted to see as much as this. The day of the fight, which I think meant more like fight week, 2-3 days before, JT calls in and says, I was painting a house and I fell off a ladder. Which is actually very funny because the day that fight got announced, I turned to somebody. I turned to a friend named Jacob Porras. I happened to be with Jacob at the time, and I said, JT's going to pull out of this fight. He's going to claim that he was painting a house and fell off a ladder. The excuse and everything, I predicted 2 months in advance based on nothing. It was just a guess that turned out to come true. But the bottom line was JT didn't show up and do the fight. Everybody's there to see the fight. And Matt, instead of just scrapping it and making something else the main event, Matt, as the promoter, moves forward with the fight. So Matt walks to the ring and he's got his music. I fought the law and the law won, right? Matt the law. He's playing his walkout. So he walks out there. He's got his t-shirt off. Now it's JT's turn to walk out. So they put the spotlight on the curtain in the red corner, and JT's supposed to walk out, and they turn on Kenny Rogers' Coward of the County. And it's playing through the speakers, and everybody there knows they're not going to get the fight. Everybody knows the fell off the ladder story. Everybody knows what's going on, but they're still in there for the entertainment. So they play the song, they move the spotlight from the curtain down the aisle with nobody up the stairs into the ring. It was just an excellent job. And then they hand Matt Lindland a microphone, and he just tells everybody what happened. Thanks for coming out. This has been resolved. JT and I's beef is behind us. He forfeited. He cowered it out, but I win. Let's all go home. And from an entertainment standpoint, he pulled it off. Nobody left there upset and wanting a refund. It actually was great. Well, word gets back to JT. JT's a proud guy. JT's fear. You called me a coward. You played coward of the count. He's beside himself. So JT decides that he is going to do a dojo storm. Now, you guys can find this. This is on YouTube, but stay with me. JT drives 2.5 hours with his hands wrapped, his mouthpiece. He's got a corner man with him with a bucket, ice, water, and Vaseline. And he storms into Team Quest to fight Matt Lindland, hands wrapped up. Matt Lindland, coincidentally, happened to be there, and he happened to be filming a technique video that day. So he had cameras, and he was mic'd up. So Matt is in an empty room with a workout partner showing technique when JT and cornerman with spit bucket confront him. Matt dismisses the whole thing. Man, hey, get out of here. I don't have time for you blue. I'm doing something else. JT's going, I'm not a cat. You know, it's a back and forth. It's a highly weird and unusual setting, but it was very real. For whatever that's worth, that was very real. JT showed up to fight, and he wasn't kidding around. And he brought a corner man, and he was willing to follow the unified rules, but they were going to do this. But because there was a camera and Matt Lindland was mic'd, people thought, okay, this is a stunt between JT and Matt. Which you could see where they would come to that conclusion if they were not armed with the fact of the technique video and all the stuff that I just offered for you. Yes, of course, that would look very fugazi. Why is there a camera there? Why is Matt Lindland's voice sound so good? Oh my gosh, he's wearing a mic. But it was just one of these weird coincidences where something very real, very organic, very authentic happened, but it happened to get captured by a professional camera. So when I look back on the Wanderlei thing, I don't really care what happened in that scuffle or who the perceived winner was or who was the aggressor versus who. I don't really care about any of that for some reason. I would like the story told accurately that no, he and I did not work together. The producers of The Ultimate Fighter were not scripting drama. We just happened to be mic'd up and there happened to be cameras on.
There's no one like Uncle Chael, the man who tells one hell of a tale. You want the facts, then listen in. He's got the biggest arms in Westland. He's calling out a stack of crap. We know damn well that Tito tapped. Cause what you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet. He's the bad guy. Bad guy. Look out for the bad guy.